Press release of World Spiritual Assembly, New York, USA. Press release dated September 10, 2020, in the name of the most merciful and the most gracious. Press release titled, The Millennium Prophecy, Heralds a Golden Age to the Heads of State and World Leaders. The liberation of Kashmir from Indian territories and Rohingyas of Arakan, led by the great Mujaheddin of Afghan, Khorasan, Isfahan, Iran, Pakistan by the Battle of Gazwa and all fascist Hindu fundamentalists will be killed from Bangladesh and Indian territories. Turkey will play effective role against the fanatic Saudi King Salman bin Abdul Aziz along with his immoral son, Mohammad bin Salman to destroy their so-called kingdom, and Turkey again will gain power over the Hijaz by the support of Muslim world as Like Ottoman Empire. To the honorable heads of state, heads of government, kings, emperors, distinguished religious leaders, intellectuals and scientists, I am disclosing valuable information concerning the future. It is the age of science and the era of utmost improvement in human civilization. It is known from history that this is the second human civilization on Earth. At the time of the Prophet Noah, PBUH, the culture, developed science and education of the first civilization vanished away from the Earth by flood and earthquake. It is also known that 4,000 years ago the Atlantic Ocean was once the shape of a continent with different nations, where many cultures lived. According to historical findings, under the Atlantic Ocean there is a lost city called the Atlantis, as a continent, collapsed in consequence of universal cataclysm and earthquakes resulting into an ocean. Therefore, we see how tremendous the history of mankind is. Archaeologists and scientists are discovering innumerable relics of human civilization and history through digging and searching the soil. Many aspects of our current civilization is likely to be wiped away completely from the earth after the year 2020 AD. Human beings will build up the third civilization as indicated in the sacred holy Al-Quran, the Tawrat, and the Zabur, the Bible, Ingil, the Kalki Puran, Hindu sacred text, and others. The present civilization will end after the global year 2020, after the occurrence of a third world war if man does not heed his inner voice. This inner spiritual urging is given expression by the modern prophet His Eminency Dr. Hazrat Sheikh Shah Sufi Mn Alam. A new civilization will begin by the permanent peace messenger of Almighty God, the great Imam Mahdi, PBUH, who will come from a region in the Arabian desert. As desired by God, Jesus Christ, Nabi Isa, PBUH, is to establish a world government based in Jerusalem creating heaven on earth after the year 2020. This statement refers to the Great Transformation, which will occur at the time of the new millennium. Similar prophecies concerning this period are the subject of most of the world's religions, as well as of astrologers and modern Western prophets like Nostradamus, Edgar Cayce, and Jean Dixon. This statement is made here as an appeal to the heads of state, as well as to the people of the planet, to make every effort to bring peace to the planet and to prepare ourselves spiritually for the great events, which are about to occur in our lifetime. According to the Holy Quran and the leaders of the Sufi orders, the course of human history and the present conditions are leading to the Third World War and the destruction of the planet. This will result in the dawning of an entirely different system of human values and organizations. According to Sufi cosmology, civilization began with Adam, PBUH, the first man. Biblical floods and earthquakes destroyed this civilization at the time of the prophet Noah, PBUH, about 4,000 years ago. This gave rise to the second and present civilization, which may come to an end unless humanity heeds its inner voice, given expression by the modern prophet His Eminency Dr. Hazrat Sheikh Shah Sufi Mn Alam. The present civilization, which is based on military might, economic exploitation and the dependence of the industrialized world on cheap crude oil will pave the way for the Third World War. Other factors contributing to the war are the fragmentation of the Soviet Union and the resultant economic chaos there, and the impoverishment of Africa and Asia. The economic pressure that a unified Europe will place on the United States and the competition for diminishing natural resources will also create pressure. Incomparable and beyond imagination, the Third World War will cause famine and drought worldwide. The nations of the West will face economic crisis and political instability. There will be no rest in the landscapes or cities like New York, San Francisco, Chicago, including other 30 states of USA, Tokyo, Beijing, Rome, Addis Ababa, Johannesburg, Sana, Mount Himalaya of Nepal, New Delhi, Calcutta, Bombay, Assam, Tripura of India, Bangkok of Thailand, Dhaka, Khulna, Chittagong, Sylhet of Bangladesh, Tel Aviv of Israel, Jakarta, East Timor of Indonesia, some territories of Russia, Cairo of Egypt, Riyadh, Nahr, of Saudi Arabia and some areas of Afghanistan, also many other cities, lands, mountains of the world. Natural disasters caused by man-made behavior will also add to the destruction. The prophecy holds that 3/4 of all living beings and natural resources will be destroyed by this probable war. His Eminency Dr. M.N. Alam's proclamation is that, in the course of the war, the descendants of Abraham, the Jews, Christians and Muslims, will fight with each other, but none shall dominate. The earth will be laid to waste in their struggle. A point to be noted, His Eminency Dr. M.N. Alam is not an enemy of any religion, not even having any personal grounds to publish such real fact, but for the spread of the real truth, which is the human being is the crown creation of Almighty God. And Abraham's descendants, the Jews, Christians, and Muslims, are cousin brothers in accordance to the Holy Quran. The war will come to an end after the destruction of the oil supply and technological infrastructure. At this time, when humanity is facing extinction, a self-proclaimed king and god named King Dajjal will appear in the area of the Red Sea. He will declare himself the custodian of heaven and make war on all who do not accept him as their god. While this situation is occurring, after 2020 a spiritual being called the Great Imam Mahdi, PBUH, an inhabitant of the Arabian Desert, and a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, will be proclaimed as universal leader in the holy city Mecca, Saudi Arabia. This will occur after the year 2020. On the same year, Jesus Christ, Nabi Isa, PBUH, is expecting to appear from the blue sky in the city of Damascus, capital of Syria, in the minaret of Holy Umayyad Mosque. Jesus Christ, Nabi Isa, PBUH, will expel King Dajjal. With the co-leadership of Great Imam Mahdi, PBUH, and Jesus Christ, Nabi Isa, PBUH, heaven on earth will be created for all beings. The people of the earth will be unified into one nation, having one government, and worshipping one God. The Great Imam Mahdi, PBUH, will establish this new world order in Jerusalem, the unified center of world harmony and peace. Imam Mahdi, PBUH, will then lead humanity into the Golden Age, unifying heaven and earth. There will no longer be any destructive intent, or any need for weapons of mass destruction. After the year 2032 Jesus Christ, Nabi Isa, PBUH, will lead the new world government approximately until or after December 2052. The people of the earth will be unified in a confederation of governments. All will accept the Great Imam Mahdi, PBUH, as the universal leader. The mindless power struggle will vanish under his spiritual leadership. This period of peace and joy will last until little after 2052. After the year 2052 another world leader named King Jaja will come to power to continue the spiritual legacy. He will lead until 2102. At this time a leader from Africa will emerge and thereafter descendants of his dynasty will lead for the next 900 years. During this time confusion and chaos will again come about. Eventually, the holy mosque at Holy Mecca will be destroyed and the spiritual strength of pure Islam will gradually decline and 7,000 years of human civilization may come to an end on the planet Earth. Humanity can have an alternative future, however, if it heeds in time the holy voice. The Prince of Peace, the merciful source of life, the one living God in his infinite love, speaks to mankind through the voice of the prophets. If humanity heeds the warnings of its inner voice, given expression by the modern prophets, to cease its inhuman behavior, to care for the environment, to respect all life as an expression of divine intention, only then humanity will sustain spiritual grace and dwell in the house of the Lord forevermore. This too can be our destiny. This gigantic task of research on the Millennium Prophecy statement from the Holy Al-Quran, Old Testament of the Bible, religious research books and opinion of the concerned intellectuals, is also based on astrology, astronomy, geography and philosophy. Included are also the interfaith opinions of the religious personalities of the world from the major religious groups. Natural disasters in North America and Europe, as well as many man-made disasters prefigure many of the realizations of the prophecy. Former UN Secretary-General Dr. Kofi Annan has advised the Millennium Prophecy should be forwarded to the U.S. mission in NY and taken into the General Assembly and Security Council agenda. Statements of the Union of Concerned Scientists point to the validity of Millennium Prophecy. Prominent world scientists have warned humanity that we must take certain actions on behalf of our planet, if widespread human misery is to be avoided in the new millennium. These 1,600 senior scientists, including 102 Nobel laureates, target resource management, population control, poverty, sexual equality and maintaining ecological balance of Earth's systems as the 5 critical areas requiring attention. They tell us that a new attitude of gratitude and responsibility is required by us, if we are to create a harmonious balance between humanity and our environment. The Union of Concerned Scientists is headquartered in Cambridge, Massachusetts, USA. Background history of Sufi prophecy. Heritage and Record. On the Arabian Peninsula in the 6th century, the Prophet Muhammad, S.M., PBUH, preached the religion of humanity to establish permanent peace on the surface of the planet Earth. After re-entering the holy city of Mecca with the Prophet's new vision for mankind, the Prophet predicted Sufi prophecy in presence of 100,000 of his followers. According to Sufi cosmology, it has been predicted that a child would be born in the Arabian desert around the year 1962. The prediction cited that the child would be born, resembling Prophet Muhammad, in a farmer's house, and will be born within the Prophet's family, and his father's name would be Abdullah and his mother's name Amina. The Prophet also indicated that there would be two occurrences after the year 2020, the miraculous reappearance of Jesus Christ, PBUH, and the enlightening arrival of the new messenger of God, Imam Mahdi, PBUH. The child would lead humanity together with Jesus Christ, PBUH, to co-create heaven on earth. This Sufi legacy has been predicted innumerable times before, first by the great Ali, PBUH, of the 7th century, 4th Caliph of Islam at Kufa, Iraq, during the 9th century by the great Sufi saint Abdul Qadir Jilani, R.A. In the 11th century, the Sufi master Sheikh Ni'matullah, R.A., of India, predicted the details of the prophecy in his 54 Persian poems. Sheikh Mujaheddin Sani, R.A., another Sufi master at Hind, West Punjab, India, was detained by Mughal Emperor Akbar in the 16th century for his prediction. The 43rd spiritual successor from the Prophet of Islam, chief Caliph and custodian of Dayra Sharif, of the 700 years old Sufi dynasty and president of the World Spiritual Assembly, Sheikh Shah Sufi Dr. Muhammad Nurul Alam, confirmed this prediction as being true in the Earth Summit and Global Forum in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in June 3, 1992. Through his 25 years research of mathematics, astronomy, astrology, theology, science, Sufi cosmology and the exploration of 186 countries, the prophecy has been rationalized and affirmed by the presentation of the ex-executive director, Seshadri Gupta of India. This prophecy was proclaimed in the Earth Summit and Global Forum at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, in June 3, 1992, for the sole reason of safeguarding human society. It was recorded on radio, television and with other competent authorities. Originally brought forth in the early 1980s, just as the nuclear arms race gathered geometric momentum, and as man's strident hostility grew ever louder and less rational, the prophecy pointed to the extreme, yet very real, possibility of man's annihilation. Initially, much abuse was heaped on the well-meaning seer who is the 43rd spiritual successor of the Prophet of Islam. Derision greeted his extremist views, first expressed to a wide audience at the Global Environment Summit at Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He has also expressed his views in over 700 other conferences, symposiums and in many noted international organizations and meetings held at the 5 continents of the world. It is not easy to wake a sleeping giant to a wider reality, particularly if he is asleep, to the fact that he is trapped in a naive and hostile illusion. And it follows that when it is necessary to awaken, the sound of the alarm is always perhaps somewhat jarring to a sleeping man. It may be mentioned here that the Prophet Noah PBUH warned his followers, sons and wife till the last moment before the biblical flood of Mount Sinai of Yemen, but they refused to attend to his words even then. Dr. Th. Rampa, a Tibetan with supernatural powers, has written a profound thesis on the Tibetan's religion mythological data entitled Chapter of Life, in which he mentions that near the year 2020 a world religious leader will be heralded. With his arrival, the world state will change entirely and enter into a new era of development through his leadership. People will be able to communicate from far distances not only among each other, but also with animals. They will also be able to foresee the future with help of supernatural powers. A revolution in religious rejuvenation in man and woman will also occur. Dr. Th. Rampa further stated on page 138 of his thesis, that on February 5, 1962 the Milky Way's celestial bodies will fall into a 16th position. Eventually, on or after May 5, 2020 these same bodies, Sun, Moon, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, Mercury and Saturn, will fall into the same position. This phenomenon will bring about a great change in civilization, as we know it. He also states that after the 5th day of May 2020 AD, the history of mankind will enter a new age where peace will reign. This humble and gifted spiritual personality from Asia, having spent his lifetime studying the wide sweep of forces, both within and without, that seemed to propel man along the path toward his destiny, recognized that it would take a shock, an extreme event, to alter man's course. If we continue the way we are going, says the spiritual being and seer Dr. M.N. Alam, we will end up where we are headed, and that, he points out, is in mutual destruction, The end of our contemporary civilization. The Prophet's fundamental message is a simple one, that we must awaken our gratitude for the extraordinary privilege that it is to be heir to the possibility of what being human is. And that out of the awareness, our gratitude must lead us to take responsibility for a harmonious balance between man and environment, between man and man. He suggests to us that only if we step beyond our naive antagonism can we avert the consequences of the course we are on. Specifically, we must recognize our unity and lay aside hostility between national boundaries and religious schism. We must manage our populations, our ecology and our resources while we bring about equality and eliminate poverty. The pioneer spokesman of the authentic prophecies before 800 years ago, Hazrat Shah Sufi Ni'matullah, R.A. The historical prophecies in verse of Hazrat Shah Ni'matullah about the imminent Third World War, World War III, and the coming of the Imam Mahdi, peace be upon him. A brief account of the life and prophecies of Hazrat Shah Ni'matullah. Hazrat Shah Ni'matullah was born during the rule of the Sultan Raja Khan Turkmen. His father was the Venerable Mir Saeed Abdul, and he was born in the city of Naranal in Kashmir. This is why he is renowned everywhere as Saint of Kashmir and Shah-e-Hamdan, although originally he was Persian from Isfahan, currently Iran. By the grace of God the Almighty, Hazrat Shah Ni'matullah began to speak fluently even before he was weaned from his mother's breast. His respected father, who loved learning, left this world when he was just a child. His father was a notable personage in Sultan Raja Khan's court, and upon hearing about his death, the Sultan's wife Yatim took on the responsibility of bringing him up and educating him. She arranged to have him tutored together with her sons. Only at the age of 13, Hazrat Shah Ni'matullah became well versed in the spiritual instructions as well as in archery, swordsmanship and other aspects of warfare. But he was always disinterested in everyday life. He received his first spiritual orders from the contemporary Hazrat Sheikh Muhammad. To gain further knowledge, he became a disciple of the very learned Hazrat Hakim Jibril Dawlatabadi, who, impressed with his student's powers, had his daughter married to him. Hazrat Shah Ni'matullah then went to Firozapur and received his spiritual powers from his spiritual teacher. Spending 16 years in hardship there, people began to hear of his many extraordinary and fabulous words there. At particular times he would make certain pronouncements which could have only come from someone blessed with the Almighty God's spiritual and special powers. For this reason, he came to be known as Shah-e-Hamdan of Kashmir. His most notable composition is a translation of the Holy Quran in Farsi. The number of words in the translation equals exactly the number present in the original Holy Quran. Of his many predictions composed in prose and verse, none of the prose versions are extant today, and only some of the prophecies in verse have survived. The predictions he made over 800 years ago, in his 56 poems in Farsi, had been proven to be true from the rule of Timur-Lenk, the First and the Second World Wars and other world historical events. Additionally, His Eminency Dr. Shah Sheikh Sufi Aman Alam has based much of the work in his Millennium prophecy statement on the predictions made by Hazrat Sheikh Ni'matullah in his Farsi poems. The Red Heifer or the Perfect Red Cow. According to the Temple Institute, a Jewish organization's end times prophecy, they are awaiting a birth of the red heifer or the perfect red cow, for it they claim it's the sign to start the construction of the third temple at the Temple Mount area where the Rock of the Dome is located. This rock is located near Masjid al-Aqsa in the Holy Land of Jerusalem. By the grace of Allah, the Almighty, the rock had been floating for 4,000 years until its descent. The Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, had performed the journey to heaven, Miraj, from this rock, as it accompanied him until he reached space. In 1988 His Eminency Drive Hazrat Sheikh Shah Sufi Aman Alam saw the rock with his own eyes when he went to visit the Al-Aqsa Mosque as a representative of the United Nations. The Israeli government under the Zionist hypocrite Jews' rule had been waiting for their so-called promised Messiah, the Antichrist or Dajjal. The current U.S. President Donald J. Trump also had been working very hard with those Zionist hypocrite Jews and misusing the single superpower United States authority. His illegal declaration of the Holy City Jerusalem in 2018 as the capital of Israel has triggered tremendous bloodshed against the innocent Palestinians by the active cooperation of Israeli IDF forces. In August 2019, the Temple Institute has announced again such news and press release, that the 2,000 years of prophecy is being fulfilled by the birth of the red heifer or the perfect red cow. Accordingly, on November 19, 2019, the Trump administration declared the illegal settlements in West Banks are not illegal according to international court. Hence, the Israeli IDF forces continued their bloodshed on the innocent Palestinians. Recently they killed over 800 innocent children amongst thousands more casualties. According to Surah Baqarah of Holy Quran and the Old Testament of Torah and Bible, There is no mention of such red heifer or perfect red cow to claim the arrival of so-called Messiah. The hypocrite Zionist Jews is exercising their malpracticed knowledge to deceive innocent Jews and Christians to believe their so-called false Messiah, the Antichrist or Dajjal, will arrive to save them. Imam Mahdi, PBUH, and Jesus Christ, PBUH, are the final Messiah of Jewish, Christians, and Muslims. His Eminency Dr. Hazrat Sheikh Shah Sufi Mn Alam, alarming the citizens of the world, the arrival of Imam Mahdi with re-emergence of Jesus Christ is just days away, along with the Third World War is knocking the door. Soon, the false Messiah, the Antichrist or Dajjal, as well as Donald J. Trump along with his associates like Benjamin Netanyahu, Putin, Xi Jinping and Narendra Modi will be wiped away by the arrival of Imam Mahdi and Jesus Christ. The liberation of Kashmir from Indian territories and Rohingyas from Arakan, led by the great Mujaheddin of Afghan, Khorasan, Isfahan, Iran, Pakistan. By the Battle of Gazwa-e-Hind. All fascist Hindu fundamentalists will be killed from the Bangladesh and Indian territories. 1,400 years ago, great Prophet Hazrat Muhammad SM, PBUH, had prophesied about the Battle of Gazwa-e-Hind, liberation of Hindland, in which he mentions that Indian subcontinent will be free of oppressive and fascist Hindus by the Mujahid fighters from Afghanistan, Pakistan and Iran before the arrival of Prince of Peace Imam al-Mahdi along with resurrection of Jesus Christ, peace be upon them. This battle will start very soon before end of the year 2020 and it will remain only for 2 weeks to eliminate all fascist Hindu fundamentalists. India has been a land of peace, and peaceful human beings, under the control of Muslim administrations. Soon Kashmir will be independent Muslim country. Great Prophet of mankind, Hazrat Muhammad, SM, PBUH's prophecy of Gazwa-e-Hind was stated in front of many of his prominent Sahabas and Munafiqs. Such the following is mentioned by Hazrat Shuban: 2 groups amongst my Ummah would be whom Allah has freed from fire, one group would fight against India and the second would be that who would accompany Imam Mahdi and Isa ibn Maryam, PBUH. Also Imam Nesai reported on al-Sunan al-Mushtaba and al-Sunan al-Kubra that, Munafiq Abu Huraira, whom narrated 6,000 false hadiths had said, Hazrat Muhammad, PBUH, promised us of Gazwa-e-Hind. If I get a chance to participate in it, I would spend all my energy and wealth for it. If I get killed, I would be considered among the greatest martyrs. And if I come back alive, then I would be freed. This statement is fabricated by Munafiq Abu Huraira, but as a matter of fact, Prophet Muhammad, SM, PBUH, did prophesied about the Gazwa-e-Hind. Coincidentally, after the British rule ended over South Asian subcontinent, it gave birth to Pakistan and India with unsettled geographical territories such as Kashmir. According to a famous Sufi saint of Kashmir, Shah Ni'amatullah Ra, the war between India and Pakistan shall start from Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr, but he did not mention which particular year. Consequently, the current Prime Minister of India Narendra Modi, whom is declared follower of Hitler's RSS group, has revoked Article 370 and 35A, which nullifies Kashmir as the independent territory. Narendra Modi along with his partner Benjamin Netanyahu is actively working to kill innocent Muslims in Kashmir and all over India as humble Jewish agent. The recent biased judgment on Babri Masjid is also another evidence that Narendra Modi actively working against the Muslims of India. Single superpower USA along with Russia, China and India are working actively against the Myanmar's Rohingya peoples, since they live on very rich and resourceful land on the coast of Bay of Bengal in Myanmar. After the British rule, the above-mentioned superpowers had constantly waged genocide against the Rohingyas. The current communist Chinese government is trying to act as a superpower in the Asian region with the direct assistance from Russia to expel the local population of Uyghur Muslims from Xinjiang region of China. Xinjiang is filled with heavy minerals such as iron, copper, uranium and other minerals. China along with Russia is committing a gross violation of human rights in Xinjiang region and other areas against the Uyghur Muslims. It has been reported in several news media outlets that China had been secretly forming concentration camps since 2014 to force the Uyghur Muslims into China's communist ideology. Xi Jinping's communist Chinese government had killed several thousands of Uyghur Muslims and also profiting huge amount of money by selling their body organs to Israel and European countries. His Eminency is alarming the final warning against the communist Chinese government to stop their genocide against the Uyghur Muslims, else they will face the ultimate punishment by the arrival of Imam and Jesus Christ, PBUH. His Eminency Dr. Hazrat Sheikh Shah Sufi Mn Alam has declared that Narendra Modi, Benjamin Netanyahu and Xi Jinping along with their godfathers will be wiped clean by Prophet Muhammad, SM, PBUH's proclamation of Gazwa-e-Hind as well as with the arrival of Imam Mahdi and re-emergence of Jesus Christ, Kashmir along with India, Palestine and Rohingyas of Myanmar also Uyghur Muslims of China will be free from all oppression and tyrant rulers. The vision of the Millennium Prophecy statement of His Eminency Dr. Hazrat Sheikh Shah Sufi Muhammad Nurul Alam can now be recognized as a clarion call to man to awaken from his dream of the naive voice of antagonism. This enlightened seer can be heard as the voice of mankind's call to reason. This humble and gifted spiritual personality from Asia, having spent his lifetime studying the wide sweep of forces, both within and without, that seem to propel man along the path toward his destiny, recognized that it would take a shock, an extreme event, to alter man's course. If we continue the way we are going, says the spiritual being and seer His Eminency Dr. Hazrat Sheikh Shah Sufi Mn Alam, we will end up where we are headed, and that, he points out, is in mutual destruction, the end of our contemporary civilization. The Prophet's fundamental message is a simple one, that we must awaken our gratitude for the extraordinary privilege that it is to be heir to the possibility of what being human is. And that out of the awareness, our gratitude must lead us to take responsibility for a harmonious balance between man and environment, between man and man. He suggests to us that only if we step beyond our naive antagonism can we avert the consequences of the course we are on. Specifically, we must recognize our unity and lay aside hostility between national boundaries and religious schism. We must manage our populations, our ecology and our resources while we bring about equality and eliminate poverty. Great Prophet of mankind Hazrat Muhammad, PBUH, prophesied about the fanaticism in Islam along with the invention of various sectarian movements. Prophet also stated that, all of the sects of Islam will eventually proceed to hellfire except one that will lead him and his descendants, all by it, with the proper guideline of Holy Quran. The Saudi monarchy and their associates from UAE along with some fanatic Jewish and Christian groups had been working together to sponsor Wahhabism, Salafism, Tablighi and Jamaati Islami sects, which are directly contributing to the creation of the so-called Muslim terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hizb ut-Tahrir and Jabhat al-Nusra, whom are directly destroying the backbone of real truth of Islam. In Islam there are no extremist ideologies, Islam resembles peace, which will be upheld with the arrival of Imam Mahdi, PBUH, the greatest true Messiah, and Jesus Christ, PBUH. In 1926, the British Empire patronized the current Saudi monarchy to establish the so-called Royal Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in Najd with Abdul Aziz ibn Saud, inhabitant of Najd, whom were desert robbers but became a so-called royal king. Subsequently, they threw out Ottoman Empire from holy city Mecca and Medina and took over the two holy mosques. Since the 1920s, the legacies of Saudi monarchy have established Wahhabi and Salafi ideologies, which had been working against the true Islam. The Grand Mufti of Kingdom Saudi Arabia Abdul Rahman ibn Abdullah al-Sheikh along with his forefather Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab al-Natsdi from Najd, Saudi Arabia is the leader of Salafi and Wahhabi movement. These hypocrites are not just mentally blind but also physically handicapped. The current prince of Saudi monarchy, Mohammed bin Salman is working ambitiously. This Millennium Prophecy statement will act as his final warning to bring about a change to his immoral actions in Yemen, Syria, and Saudi Arabia. It is confirmed that, Saudi royal King Salman bin Abdulaziz along with his son Mohammed bin Salman are not at all Muslim nor do they represent any faction of Islam. It is also confirmed, that Mohammed bin Salman is directly working to bring about a modern change to Saudi Arabia under the disguise of bringing a total destruction. His ruthless plans have caused tremendous devastation in Yemen and Syria which have led to the killing of thousands of innocent Yemenis and Syrians also displaced millions as agent of Israel and patron by U.S. President Donald Trump. The young generations of Arabian Peninsula already have awakened up to the immoral actions of Saudi monarchy. It's only matter of days to bring about a complete annihilation of Saudi monarchy along with their accomplices UAE, Egypt, Kuwait, Qatar, Oman, Bahrain and other Middle East rulers will also face the same fate of punishment by the arrival of Imam Mahdi, PBUH, which is validated by the Young Arab Spring movement. His Eminency Dr. Hazrat Sheikh Shah Sufi Mn Alam is inviting the President of Turkey and OIC, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and the former Prime Minister of Malaysia Dr. Muhammad Mahathir to prepare for the work of Imam Mahdi's world peace mission. The current world situation is a direct threat to Islam and true identity of Prophet Muhammad, SM, PBUH, as well as his legacy. Therefore it is your utmost duty to work together to uphold the dignity of Prophet Muhammad, SM, PBUH, to pave the way for the arrival of Imam Mahdi, PBUH, and Jesus Christ, PBUH, for the establishment of ultimate peace. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, and New Muslim United Nations, World Federation will play an effective role to be organizing the Muslim army to work and support for the world peace mission of Imam Mahdi, PBUH, and international security to eliminate all the superpowers along with their superiority and attitude. All country patriotic junior armed forces of Bangladesh are invited and take initiative to take rapid actions against illegal self-proclaimed Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's regime. If there aren't any country patriotic armed forces to fight against the cats and rats of Bangladesh, soon the great Mujaheddins of Gazwa will arrive to kill all cats and rats of Bangladesh, along with the Isfahan and RSS terrorist groups. It is the ultimate prime time to fight against the root of fascism, oppression and injustice, in Bangladesh to give hope for a just and peaceful prosper life for general people of Bangladesh. If you do not come forward, you will be compelled to pay a heavy price. In 1917, after the First World War, the United Kingdom has declared the support for independent Jewish state in Palestine with the Balfour Declaration. Again in May 14 of 1948 the UK contributed with other superpowers to establish the State of Israel on the land of Palestine. The United Kingdom's involvement in the establishment of Saudi Arabia and Israel led to their complete destruction as a kingdom around the world. Since 1945, the United Nations has been completely paralyzed and does not play any effective role for the international peace and security. This World Federation, UN, is only working for the interest of Israel and USA along with other superpowers. All of these conspiracies must be paid with severe punishment by the regime of Imam Mahdi, PBUH. Millions of Muslims are suffering in India by the oppressive ruler of Narendra Modi. These oppressed rulers have no care for United Nations charters or resolutions. There are billions of sufferers around the globe, especially Palestinians, Syrians, Yemenis, Kashmiris of India, Rohingyas of Myanmar and Uyghurs of China. All the sufferers around the globe will be free of oppressed and tyrant rulers. Also will have the ultimate safety and security by the Imam Mahdi's world peace mission. Picture of Sheikh Hasina along with her godfather Narendra Modi and Amit Shah will be killed by Mujaheddin of Gazwa Hind. All of her looted money is with her sister Rayhana, son Joy, daughter Saima, niece Tulip as well as other family members' account. All the money should be recovered in time. Above mentioned images are from Left Hasina's political advisor H.T. Imam, Defense and Security Advisor retired Major Tariq Ahmed Sadiq, Chief of Army General Aziz Ahmed and Chief of Bangladesh Police and Agent of Indian RAW Benazir Ahmed. This group of hypocrites and Indian RAW agents must be killed by the action of country patriotic junior armed forces of Bangladesh. If you failed to do so, you must be ready to be killed by the greatest action of Gazwa and Mujaheddin soldiers. Footnotes, definitions. Modern prophet, a person or figure who conducts comprehensive research for the future of the planet Earth with prophecies and scholastic research through the field of comparative religion, interfaith religion, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, theology, astrology, astronomy, and science. 20th century modern prophets. Example, Jean Dixon, Edgar Cayce, Nostradamus, His Eminency Dr. Hazrat Sheikh Shah Sufi M.N. Alam. Published book, Millennium Prophecy Statement Heralds a Golden Age, Arrival of Imam Mahdi along with Re-emergence of Jesus Christ, PBUH, to co-create heaven on earth, ISBN, 978-205786262406.